I have never done these looking back at kind of videos, but as 2020 was for sure a special one and I felt spontaneously in the mood for a little more personal update, I thought I would give it a go. Something along the lines of 2020, how it has changed me as a person. I am not going to start this by talking about challenging times and opportunities to grow. I am actually in a mood that is not at all positive, and the reason for that is probably the fact that I don't really see any change in the near future, even though 2020 is soon to be over. I'd much rather grow in a less exhausting way and with something like the Ice Bucket Challenge rather than a pandemic. And as many of you surely feel the same, let's have a chat in the comments about what 2020 meant for you as a person and as a professional, no matter if your profession is being a mom or CEO of a billion-dollar company. Hi, I'm Dr. Anne. I'm a medical doctor with a passion for skincare that works. On this channel, we explore the science behind skin and do quick reviews, so you learn to pick exactly those products that work for your individual skin concern. So if this is something you're interested in, please consider subscribing and ring the notification bell. Let's start with the professional stuff. You know I'm counting on you being nosy and sticking around for the personal update later on. As you know, I'm a trained anesthesiologist and ICU doctor, but one that switched to public health 3 years ago. I figured the working hours there would be better suited to having 2 small children, and they were, which gave me the opportunity to focus on this channel for my biggest passion, skincare. In the wake of a pandemic, though, that changed for the first time back in March and then again in late September. Many of you might not really know what a public health doctor actually does, and I don't want to go into too much detail about the different things we are usually responsible for, but for the last 9 months, our main job has been identifying cases, identifying super spreader events, contact tracing, and managing outbreaks in schools, care homes for the elderly, and hospitals. Out of this huge task, cases and contact tracing have been my responsibility for a population of around 700,000 people, which I can, of course, not do alone, but with an amazing team of more than 200 people working for me, most in part-time. So what used to be a 9 to 5 turned into a 5 to 9, or rather 6 to 10 job, including the weekends. And this is not going to change anytime soon. Cases in Germany are still at an all-time high, and as long as they are, we will not be able to drop our guard. So I have a pretty good idea how the first 3 months of 2021 will look like. Spending that much time at my main job means, of course, that I have no time to invest into this channel, as the lack of videos shows. I know as well as anyone that has watched at least one video about the secrets of success on YouTube that consistency is key and that you need to upload regularly to keep your audience engaged. But as much as it frustrates me to not being able to do that, I am a type A personality after all, I have come to accept that I had to make a choice, and that, of course, fighting the pandemic will forever be much more important. On the bright side, of course, my job is secure through these uncertain times, and that is more than many others can say right now. And I'm not facing the risk of being made redundant. And I don't have to do it alone. When we called for help back in March, more than 100 medical students answered. And these, along with many others that joined the team since then, really kept me going with their cheerfulness and their fresh perspective and no problem attitude. Another thing I have been incredibly lucky with is my co-workers. All of them are amazing, but there are 5 that I would literally go through hell for. One of which I already worked with 10 years ago on intensive care unit. Having these people is really a blessing, so I guess this isn't going to be a complete rant after all. And for even more positivity, my goal for this channel was reaching 10,000 subscribers, a number I surpassed in July, so I really don't have a reason to complain here either. Thank you for sticking with me despite me neglecting the channel. So how has 2020 changed me as a professional? Well, I know I can work even more hours than I thought I could. I know that switching to public health was the right decision because what I do right now really has an impact. I know that I miss uploading to this channel and will not stop. And I know my YouTube channel will grow even if I don't follow all the rules, which is pretty reassuring for the future. And to be able to operate more in my zone of genius, as people call it, I hired someone to do the time-consuming part that I am not really good at, the editing. So if you noticed an increase in post-production values since October, that's not me, that's Leandro's work. Now onto the personal stuff. For me, there has been no lockdown. My job requires me at the office, which means no loungewear and home cooking, but late night pizza al desco and shift toward wrap dresses as the numbers on the scale started to rise. I don't think you're able to tell from these videos, but I have gained a notable amount of weight, which probably wouldn't bother me that much, and have lost all my strength and stamina. Believe me, I am not exaggerating if I say the last time I was in that bad of a physical shape was after I gave birth to my second child. I went from working out 3 to 5 times a week and leading an active lifestyle to being sedentary 14 to 16 hours a day with a 10-minute bike ride in the mornings being my only exercise. Given the fact that I'm 41, I don't compensate for that as easily as I did in my 20s. And for the first non-pregnant time in my life, I really experienced issues with my back. So yes, definitely not the best year for me, health and fitness wise. For us as a family, it was a tough time as well. My husband works as a senior physician on an ICU with COVID-19 patients, which means he wasn't home much either. And every time he would hurt his knees, I would freak out and lock him in the bedroom because, as you might know if you've been around here for a while, we do live with my parents, both well in their 70s and considered high risk. We actually discussed changing this arrangement back in March when it started, but decided against it. And I'm really, really grateful for that. For my parents have been the solid rock in my kids' life in times where I get to see them maybe half an hour a day. My children are 4 and 6 at the moment, and if I thought I knew mom guilt, 2020 has shown me a whole different level of it. I don't know how I would have been able to cope without my parents' constant support and seeing the bond that they have formed with my children. Quite the nagging voice inside me telling what an awful mom I am, at least temporarily. It also goes without saying that spending zero time with one another puts a strain on even the healthiest relationship, something any couple with small children rarely has in the first place. So the fact that I still have a husband shows how much both of us still want this relationship to work. So again, not a very successful year in terms of family either. Regarding friends, I think I've managed to meet 3 for coffee or talk to on the phone to, which is an all-time low even for me. That is incredibly bad at keeping in touch even without social distancing. I hope the ones that did stick with me until now will still be there when I have the mental capacity of reaching out again. Otherwise, it will be a pretty lonely rest of my life. So how has 2020 changed me as a person? I definitely feel about 10 years older than I did a year ago. I'm exhausted in a way I never knew, and I'm probably shortlisted for the Worst Mother and Wife Award of the year. And the fact that this will continue for at least 3 more months into 2021 doesn't really cheer me up either. So if you have now made it to the end and ask yourself, what exactly was the point of this video? I don't really have an answer. As I said in the beginning, this was a spontaneous idea, probably only beneficial for myself in an attempt to get things off my chest. But as I figure many of you feel the same, let's chat in the comments. How do you feel you have changed looking back at 2020?